Death might be life's natural and unavoidable conclusion, but humans have ensured that what happens to our bodies afterward is anything but. For more than a century, Americans' burial practices have prevented the earth from reusing our precious raw materials after we kick the bucket. Embalming may be our worst offender. The practice of filling bodies with chemicals like formaldehyde to preserve them dates back to ancient Egypt. But it caught on stateside in the mid-1800s as a way to transport fallen Civil War soldiers. Today, US morticians embalm roughly 1 million people every year. It takes between 3 and 4 gallons of chemicals to preserve the average body, and the ripple effects are numerous and nasty. Conserved corpses can go on display in caskets that collectively use tons of wood and steel, which we then bury in concrete containers. Instead of returning bodily nutrients like potassium and calcium to the ground, we slowly molder while shielded from the dirt. Lack of oxygen causes wasting flesh to release methane, a greenhouse gas more potent than the carbon dioxide we'd produce in open air. Meanwhile, embalming fluid can leak into soil and groundwater, potentially at hazardous concentrations, making our final contribution to humankind toxic ooze. An option that's becoming more popular in the US is cremation. We now cremate around half of our bodies, and if the trend continues, that number will reach nearly 75% by the year 2035. But despite its apparent minimalism, cremation is resource intensive too. It takes around 28 gallons of fuel to turn just one person into ash. That's about how much gas it would take to fill a Hummer H1. Still, cremation's carbon footprint is 10% lower than embalming and burying, since urns don't have lawns to mow and water. These days, Americans are starting to seek options that minimize the environmental impact of their afterlives. More than 70% of US cemeteries say they've seen increased demand for so-called green funerals. Such services might use non-toxic embalming fluid, like essential oils instead of formaldehyde, or just put bodies in the ground as is. Some religious groups have always done so. Judaism and Islam, for example, traditionally don't practice embalming. Many state laws currently require burials or cremations of some kind. So organizations like Washington State's Urban Death Project are pushing local legislation to add more post-mortem options. One alternative is laying bodies in sawdust-filled vessels to reduce them into compost. Washington became the first state to legalize the process on May 21st, 2019. Each person turned into plant food in lieu of the usual treatment saves about 1 metric ton of carbon dioxide, according to the group's own assessment. This might be more palatable to Americans than rituals like the Tibetan sky burial, which deposits bodies to decompose on mountaintops. Leaving our dead for scavengers probably isn't the next big trend, but we're coming around to the idea that the greenest way to die is to encourage decomposition, not stop it. And our greener deaths will help make the planet a greener place.